Morning, peoples. All right, let's jump into our friend Misty. Misty had an okay day. Mr. was retraced a little, which is healthy. Remember, we had 1830 calls, and this thing ripped up into the mid 1727 closed the day before. So we didn't want it this early in the week. This is a healthy, just little retracement, consolidate. I still feel like we'll get to 1800. So Misty's one of the few. Coney didn't have any trades reported on Coney earlier. And GDXY, for those of you that got into that fund yesterday. So anyway, MSTR retraced 4.14, and as usual, when we're not really capped or anything, we don't decline as much, right? So about 75%, 72, 73 to probably be more precise, just gauging by looking. Okay, so we did buy back, which is a little unusual, but they did go up 75,000 shares, and that put a little money in their pocket, right? And instead of adding, maybe they're worried that they're going to run by this 1830, but they bought back with only 3 trading days, you know, and basically netted even, right? They sold 913 of these, but they bought 28 back of the calls, and they paid 26. They sold for 25.94. So we had a net loss of $168. But the issue is we could have kept that profit because it's hard to say that we don't run by 1830. But normally any other fund that's not Misty with this kind of IV definitely would be safe, but we'll see. I'm not sure it's going to run by that. It could get close to it. So they also put on a couple of synthetic plays. Normally when they do something like this, they match with 28. So that put money in their pocket. So I can kind of see why they did that. And then you like to have a matching transaction. So the only weeklies they really had are these 913 that are now 885, right? So they took that off the board everywhere. So let's go look at the synthetic. These put money in our pocket, right? Because we're ahead of the game. We're at 1655 and these are 1540s. And we probably were a little higher when we took this off the board. So yeah, because look, we ended up having a value of 331 on the calls and 200 on the puts. But when we sold the calls, we sold them for 351. So we were a little higher than 1655. And we bought back the puts, right? Normally we do the opposite. We buy the calls, sell the puts. So when we close the position, right, we put a negative over here. But essentially, we're selling the calls and buying the puts back. And that netted us about 381,000. So that's reducing our loss there. Now, just by retreating, we went on our synthetics again. I know people ask me about this paper thing. So we had a value of 18 million to the positive. So we came back, right? We lowered our synthetic and we took a little off the table. So now we've got 11.5 million profit, which is sweet, right? I mean, always better to have a profit than not have a profit. So if we run back up to 1800, it's going to get larger, right? This thing's going to get reduced substantially, the put side of things, right? This 200 is going to, if we get to 1800, of course that's out till 719, so it's not going to get reflected. You know, it's going to hover in the 180s, 170s, 160s like that if we move up more. Okay. So let's take a look back on May and see if we covered everything. Just had that one small transaction. We see the increase because 75,000 more shares. A lot of times you see selling when people sell out of the fund, but they didn't. We got 75,000 net new shares. Okay, because Misty's just, frankly, it's by far the highest price fund, I believe. I don't check every day on all of them, but all of these funds open at 20 or very close to 20, right? The market dictates sometimes. Like I got into GDXY, the first trades at 1990, right? Closed at 1985.3. But they're usually right around that 20 mark. And then they go there based on NAV and success and all the other stuff. And the really bad ones like Tesla, when it had a hard time with Tesla as the underlying, they had a reverse split. So then it was still, 16, 17 after the reverse split. So that's pretty bad. But it can happen. These are a bullish bet and people chase yield. What do you say to people? Don't chase yield, right? We all do a little bit. I mean, everybody, why do you guys tune into the channel? You want to know how we're doing heading toward the payout, right? We all care what we're going to get paid. We're not in this for, as a freebie. So let's take a peek at that. Let's one more peek at the weeklies, the holdings, and then I'll just get into payments. Okay, still got a super high IV, which helps us a lot. All right. Down to 34.18, down to 16.55. Whoops, didn't even change my arrows. Shame on me. At least I don't mess around with red and green. It's just way too time consuming. Okay, how do we do on this weekly? Well, we got in the money, right? Because we wrote these remaining 885. They represent 2,296,000, right? Because we took 28 contracts off the table. And we're now 17.23 cents or 17.23%, look on the holdings, of having captured that, right? Why? Because yesterday when this thing was running up to 1727, this thing got up to like 46, right? But now with just 3 trading days, see, our synthetics out at 719 got all this time premium. But when you write these weeklies and you drop from 17s back to 16s, this thing more than got cut in half. It ran up to 46 and we're like, oh no, we're going to cost us, right? But reality is we were still pretty far below it. So this thing now, I envision this going to 0 and us getting to 2.2, to be honest. But anything can happen, right? So again, on the weeklies, what's the chart telling us? Didn't update it, but we know where it is, right? So this chart was up at 1727. All we did was pull back minuscule, right? We're right here between these two numbers. And again, I was saying it's possible, although it's not looking like it, that we come back down and fill this gap. But we might run to 1800 and then consolidate over here sideways, fill that gap, and then go on to, run up to 2023. It's all really, especially with MSTR, based on BTC, right? Speaking of that, let me get you guys I'm on my other screen here, getting my Thinkorswim on BTC and showing you a chart. Oh yeah, we're back to 75.60, which is nice, right? We had pulled back into the, let me bring it over. So this is 2.5 hours before the market opens. And let's take a look, right? Here we are. So we got down to 16, right? And this is, again, I'm not sure on these dotted lines. I really like the shaded gray and black when I get, for all of my regular securities, right, that adhere to U.S., opening and closing and then aftermarket and pre-market. But with BTC, it's just continuous. So I think this, well, it's showing 6. But what is that? Is that 6 p.m.? Probably, right? It's certainly not the date. So I suspect that's the time, but I don't know exactly which time it is, right? Because this is, you know, it could be a GMT or something like that. But the net result with 2.5 hours to go, we're right back up to these kind of levels. This is as high as we got, right, yesterday. And then that was pre-market where we jumped up to 72 and then stayed along here. So this is a positive, and I think that reflects for MSTR as well. Let's take a look at that. Now again, that's going to be in pre-market now, right? So you get very thinly traded. But it's showing 1694. And look where we closed. We closed down at, you know, 1655. So it's heading back up there, right? We just wanted to stay below 1830, which is quite a ways up there. But again, we'd make it more than up on the synthetic, but you still don't want to run by that 1830. I want to grab the bulk of that 2.2 million left out there. All right, so let's wrap this up. Everything is looking good. Let's talk about payments. I don't think there's anything else here. Synthetics I talked about. Payments weekly. Yeah, let's just get into payments. Okay, so the synthetic, we got 11.5 million gain, down from 18 million, right? On paper yesterday. It's a real gain. It just hasn't been sold or bought to exercise, right? We are reasonably safe on the weekly at 1830 was yesterday's decline. So where do we stand? We've still got this hunkin' $4 loss, right? So what do I have down here? I've had this for a few days. My latest revised. I haven't revised it because there's no reason to revise it, right? So I don't see much happening here. This already accounts for the money that we would get on the 2.2 million, right? So this would increase if we didn't get that. But with 4 million shares, you know, it's $4 at that level. This is 423. So $2 as it stands now. Could we time this and get this payment higher by lowering this? Yeah, we could get this down another dollar, but what would have to happen is we stay right below 1830, and then they write new ones for like 2,000, and then the following week we run up toward 2,000, right? And then we sell some more 1540s. And when we're over the strike price of the 1540, we're going to collect money, right? The put's going to lose value and the call is going to increase. So we're going to put more money and we're going to drive this number up while driving this number down. And right now I'm kind of saying we're going to get half this. We'll get $2, right? I mean, could it be $2.10? Could it be $1.90? Sure. But that's ballpark. They know they want to meet the yield of this as close as they can to this high fund, right? I don't see $1.90. I think they'd rather pay $2. Okay, so that's what I got. Have a great day ahead, whatever is in store for you. Needed to get Misty out to you guys. And Paul, you ask about Murney. In a way, and people have asked me about NVIDIA, I'd be happy. Part of the problem, if you just jump in and try those, you don't have all the accounting, right? I don't have every daily trade that they've had. I don't have the history of everything. So it's a little harder to tell me on that month how much has been put in the piggy bank. I can analyze the trades as they happen, but I don't have a history of it, right? So I sometimes have to build up a history in order to do it. I have the time to do them, but I'm going to get this Discord up this weekend so we have a place to talk. Kurt also suggested that maybe I do a live. Now that my subscriber count is getting close to 500 and I get up there, you know, I may do a live stream. So why don't you guys in your comments give me some times and refer to your time zone. Is it Eastern? Is it Western? You know, give me some suggestions because I'm pretty flexible in trying to meet the time zone for a live stream, right? And then the live stream gives us that ability where you guys can ask questions, right? I'm a plethora of knowledge, as most of you know, And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. There's certainly a lot I don't know. But I think around this kind of stuff, investments, trading, charts, analysis, options, I pretty much got it down. So I think I can be of great value for you. I think you guys know that, or you wouldn't be subscribing and watching the videos. Okay, Bruce out for the day here, getting ready for the markets. This is not financial advice. This is for fun and education. Have a great day ahead. See ya.